You're joining forces with Perkins next year.
Yeah, we're running it, well, it's separate teams, but joining up with Castrol's great.
OK, more interviews to do. Here's Andy Raymond.
Yes, thanks, Gary. Down here with the defending champion, Larry Perkins. Larry, correct me if I'm wrong, it was 82, 83 and 84 you had victories. 94, 93, 94, could it be a good omen?
Well, I'm not in the good or bad luck, but I don't mind having a bit of luck, and be nice to get 94 up as well.
Larry, how are the Dunlops in the wet conditions?
Oh, look, when it's wet, it's slippery, and that's a fact. And, you know, but everything felt good. The car's as good as we could expect, and, you know, I think we've just got to, yeah, it's a 6-hour race. We've just got to keep our eye on it, utmost concentration, and if everything works fine, you never know.
Larry, we wish you all the best. We go back to Sandy Roberts.
Thank you, Anson.
And I have with me the motor racing chaplain, Gary Coleman.
A prayer of dedication for the race. Gracious God, we pause to express our respect for you and the need to include you in all that we do. We present our race to you for safety and protection, and we pray for the Don Watson family who sorrow that they'll find strength in you and in their friends. Grant to all who race, who crew, marshal and administer, alert reactions, responsible behaviour, so as to conclude this day with thanks and satisfaction, we ask in humble respect in the name of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, would you welcome for the playing of the Australian National Anthem, Mr. James Morrison. And now it's time to fire them up in preparation for the great race. And to do that, the Commonwealth champion, the Olympic champion, the world champion, Kieran Perkins.
Melinda Price and gentlemen, start your engines.
And so the engines start here at Mount Panorama, and the bad weather moves in again. We have Larry Perkins, last year's great race winner in the Castrol Commodore, sharing today with Greg Hansford.
Bit of history here, Mike. 1972 was the last wet start to this great race. It's been a long time, and boy, haven't the cars changed in that time.
Glenn Seaton, who sits on his first ever pole here at Mount Panorama for the Tooheys 1000. Won't be long before the cars will be moving off the starting line on the parade lap around. 05, Peter Brock sharing the front row. Second quick time here yesterday in the Telecom MobileNet Commodore, and sharing the cockpit duties with him today is Thomas Mazera, one of the most talented touring car drivers in Australia, if not one of the most underrated. And just back behind them on the grid, Mark Scaife and Tony Longhurst, the big achiever. Talking about achievements, the vote this morning must go to the TAFE boys and Brocky on the outside. Win number 10, will it be here today, or will it be the first for Glenn Seaton? We'll take a break and back for the start of the 94 Tooheys 1000. A wet day at Mount Panorama as we await the 32nd anniversary great race from this 6.2 kilometre race circuit. The vehicles coming down to Caltex Chase at the moment. Our pole sitter Glenn Seaton, the Peter Jackson Falcon, leading them around. Peter Brock sitting in behind. We have drama at the start line with Neil Shembry and Rodney Crick with the Bettigro Commodore, number 36, non-starter at this moment. Let's take a look at the lineup. And here it is, Seaton and Radisich off pole. Brock and Mazera alongside. In row 2 is Scaife and Richards, Longhurst and O'Brien. From 5, it's Gardner and Neil Crompton. Position number 6, Jones and Parsons. 7 is Bryson Johnson. From 8, Larry Perkins, Greg Hansford from position number 9. It's Jones and Lowndes, and from 10, Johnson and Bow.
From 11, car 7, Percy and Ingle. From 12, car 6, Bond and Olofsson. From 13, Ward and Ellery in the Commodore. From 14, car 24, Crick and Scott. And from 15, car 3, Reed and Ashby. From 16, car 9, Allen and Madecki. From 17, Jones and Dunstan in the Ampol Max 3 car. From 18, car 27, Finnegan and Williams. From 19, 47, Trimble and Walden in the Commodore. And from 20, car 28, Waldock and Preston.
And beginning the second half of the field, position 21, car 39, Smurden and McConville in the Commodore. Position 22, Lamont and Gulson also in a Commodore. Position 23, Shembry and Crick, they're in trouble at the moment. Will they start? We'll find out. Position 24, McColl and Gazard, also a Commodore. Position 25, Palmer and Peters, another Commodore VP. Position 26, McLeod and Burton, another Commodore, sponsored by NZ Australia. Car 27, Wilson and Nicholson, also in a Commodore. Then Gary, Wilmington and Barnes, car 41, that's position 28. Car 38 rather, is position 29, O'Brien and Callaghan. Position 30 is Yulden and Stenniken.
Yes, from position 31, Morris and Hager in the Diet Coke BMW. Then it's Rooklyn and Blanchard, followed by Kay and Murphy in the Oryx Carina. 34 is 62, Russell and Gillen. 35 is 45, Baird and Riley. From 36, Taylor and Bell. Oyub and Conway start out at 37. Dulman and Cotter, 38. 39, Matthews and Martin. And from 40, 51, Reed and Price.
41, car 57, Siders and Letcher. From 42, car 42, Fay and Cribbin in the Commodore. From 43, car 16, McKay and Miller in the Mercedes. From 44, car 98, Hills and Rogers. And from 45, car 8, Hardman and Fall in the Hyundai.
There's the scene at Mount Panorama as the 7 Network welcomes viewers across Australia and through TV2 in New Zealand, live to the 32nd running of Australia's great motor race. And this man going after number 10, they call him the King of the Mountain, Peter Brock. And we're set to go. Seaton, the start here will be critical. 5 seconds away from it. The Peter Jackson Falcon on pole. Skaife's ready to go. They're all off, and Scaife gets away smartly, but Alan Jones is away smarter even on the outside and gobbles up Tony Longhurst as they reach the first turn. Is it going to be Brock? He goes in wide, but he won't be able to turn it out of there, and it'll be Seaton up the inside. Glenn Seaton as they make the first corner and head up the mountain for the first time. Right behind him is Mark Scaife. Perkins comes out from the middle of the pack. And also Dick Johnson's car, number 17, with John Bow of Tasmania starting. Heading up the Holden Hill. Here comes Scaife. He wants to lead this. Up on the inside. Seaton has allowed him to get up on the inside, and he was 2 seconds quicker this morning. Scaife running on the Yokohamas. And there he goes through Repco now, the exit. Seaton now drops back into second. Third, as you can see, is Peter Perfect, and Larry Perkins coming up the outside.
Wild stuff as this field thunders through the spray on the first lap. You can see Larry pushing his way up through the field there. Great start for Mark Scaife. He wants to get out of this spray, and he's going to lead him across the top for the first time. There's Seaton in second position. Brock slips back to third up that big understeer in the first corner. Perkins comes through. The first of the Shell cars, then Alan Jones and the Peter Jackson Ford.
That's pretty close stuff at the top of the mountain, but Scaife looking for the break. That's all he needs to get away from that big Falcon. Perkins showing already he wants to get by Brock in the 05 car as they come across the top of the mountain. Headed down now to Skyline, and there's the first of the Johnson cars with Alan Jones, and also a very good start there from Wayne Gardner.
Fascinating thing this in the warm-up just this morning in the wet conditions. The top 4 cars, top 3 of the top 4 were on Yokohama tyres. It seems to be an advantage here in the wet weather conditions. Boy, it's going to be tough on these opening laps.
Well, I'll tell you what, start or finish, in front is the place to be, particularly in these conditions. How the guys back in the midfield in this race can see what's happening is beyond me.
Well, there's the gap. It opens up as Mark Scaife comes down to tyre power turn. Glenn Seaton in second, Brock third, then followed by Perkins. Crowd cheering up here because Brocky is sitting right on the tail of Glenn Seaton. Nobody knows this circuit better. You saw the cars get taily out of that corner.
Mark Scaife confirming his warm-up form. 3.5 seconds faster than the next fastest car, Longhurst and O'Brien.
Look at this. Brocky down the inside of Seaton. He's out after Scaife. To the 2 he's overhead. Look at the speed through here. Here comes Brock through the maze, through the mire, up into second spot. And Scaife heads down into Caltech's chase.
And here comes Brock down under brakes into Caltech's chase. Great move that on Conrod Straight. So it's Scaife now. And look at Seaton. He gets a bit wide. He's off on the grass, and Larry Perkins will capitalise on that. Seaton gets it back on the tarmac. Just an indication of how slippery it is out there on lap 1.
Alan Grice away to a brilliant start as well in the number 18 Shell FAI Falcon, is now up to position number 5. Here comes the Commodore down on the inside. Alan Jones dives under the second one. It'll be 3 wide through that turn as Jones gets up on the inside The Ingle car. Oh, wheels. You got to see where you're going here this morning on pit straight. And they head past here, up into the left-hander. Tony Longhurst is in. He wants a slice of the action, and you can hardly see where you're going. These guys want a race.
Not intimidated by the wet conditions one little bit. Look at this. What a squeeze. Grice. I think one of the Coke cars there. Is that Gardner at 4? And Alan Jones. Percy gets shuffled back. Now it's Percy in car 7 who's up there at the front of this pack. So Gardner back there too. And look at the amount of spray coming off these cars. They're absolutely blinding conditions.
And it's not going to get any better because reports from towns west and south are here. Rain, 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 rain and thunderstorms.
And there goes Percy sneaking up the inside.
Well, he's there, but right behind him in the 18 car, we've already alluded to, a fellow that's won here twice in the 1000 mode, and that's Alan Grice, a Cobra Al up there on the inside as he tags a number 7 car up into BP Cutting. Leader skipping away from them, Mark Scaife. Peter Brock up into second spot at the moment, and here we're following 5th back to 10th.
1.8 seconds the gap over Brock as Scaife across the start finish line that time as we take Qantas race cam board Wayne Gardner's Coca-Cola VP, and as Michael alluded to before, a sensational job by the TAFE crash repair team to get this car back in the race. They must have turned it around in about half an hour.
Well, front right was really crunched, suspension damage and all, and they've managed to fix it and get it out there, and it's running so strong in these early stages, and the pace up front is red hot.
Here's Longhurst closing now. Scaife the leader, Brock second, Perkins is third, followed by Seaton, Grice, Percy, then Alan Jones and Wayne Gardner. That's the top 8. Longhurst is 9th and Brad Jones is 10th, just ahead of Colin Bond in the second of the Winfield cars.
Pick their way down through the depot. That's Jones. Tony Longhurst, very strong in the warm-up this morning, second fastest behind Scaife. This package has looked very competitive all week. He'll be a guy to watch in these very slippery conditions. Jones leads them through. Tony Longhurst. The Larry Perkins built Chevy-powered Commodore. So they pick their way out of the elbow. Lights ablaze.
And the good news is that Neil Shembry and Rodney Crick and the Bettigro Commodore have finally got their car started. They're at the tail of the field at the moment, but at least they're running.
Well, Rodney Crick, of course, the Australian truck racing champion. He'd be used to driving in conditions like this, and he'll make up the ground, I'll bet.
See Tony Longhurst coming in the right-hand side of Conroy Straight to keep himself out of the spray, and Peter Brock is making big inroads on Mark Scaife here. This is against the form book we saw this morning. Brock, perhaps the track getting a little bit dry, maybe the rain's backed off for a moment, but making a big impression on the leading car as they come across the start-finish line once again.
It would only be for a moment. Let me tell you, everyone expected Mark Scaife and Jim Richards to be able to get away on their Yokohamas, but Peter Brock has been able to pull him in car number 05, the Telecom Mobile Net Commodore, going out after him at the moment as they head up the mountain yet again. Nothing to split between first and second, and the great race for 94. Brock, cool, calm, and looking like collecting at the moment. They go over the Holden Hill, and Scaife, who does all of the development driving for Fred Gibson Racing, out there in front. There's Perkins, made his way up to third, so the leader is not getting away from the pack. Very gingerly gets his way through Repco corner. Brock a little wider.
And this fascinating tyre battle we've had all year in full swing. Yokohama, Bridgestone and Dunlop head-to-head in the most treacherous conditions we've seen all year.
To the cutting, the exit now. There's Scaife, just feeds on the throttle as he comes through there. Brock sitting in behind and sideways, as you would expect, a little dab of the brakes. No heroic stuff here today. Scaife driving beautifully, and Brock just sitting in his wake as they make their way once again towards Skyline.
Well, according to our Dorian lap scorer here, Brock was almost a second faster than Scaife on that last lap around, so he's taking big chunks out of his lead here. Car's running in about the 2-minute 44 time frame, and we don't really have any relevant figures for that because the cars were so lightning quick in qualifying to drive.
Larry Perkins also closing up on Brock. A freeway contest here at the head of the field, going lickety-split the early stages of the 2 1000 in the most atrocious conditions that we've seen for a long time.
Commodores, 1, 2. There's your third one.
Ben Seaton back in fourth. Great start from the Coca-Cola number 2 car.
He has Win Percy right behind him. Dropping down out of tyre-powered turn. So the Commodore's looking very strong, and actually the weather's starting to clear a little here at Mount Panorama. Not by much, but a little anyway. So we'll see whether or not Win Percy can work his way past Glenn Seaton. Back behind them, Alan Grice. He goes through in the 4. Then Alan Jones is next. Dick Johnson and John Bowe back in 14th position with the 17 car at the moment. the best performing Shell FAI car is Alan Grice in the 18. Here he comes. There's Tony Longhurst. How would you like to be following that plume into Caltech's chase?
Win Percy be quite a fan in this English way.
They come through the bottom turn. Glenn Seaton just there. Right behind him is Win Percy. The next one back to is Alan Grice, and he's under a little bit of pressure as well.
Percy showing all this experience, accumulated years in touring cars, a lot of wet driving conditions in Europe throughout his career, but he's putting that to good use here in the Coca-Cola Commodore. You can see that wiper working flat out, trying to keep the spray off the windscreen. Very, very difficult conditions. Mind you, this year, after the disaster of 1992, all the cars have installed demisters in the windscreens. But look, this is where the action is. Brock right on Scaife here as they head up toward Repco Corner.
He's got the right line for the turn. If he keeps it on hard, it's side by side into the right-hander, and Brock goes through to take the lead in the 94 Great Race with it sideways out of the turn. Now advances to the lead. Second spot held by Scaife, and Perkins is back behind him as Freddie Gibson says, well, it's early days yet.
Look at Brock's car snap sideways to try to get the power coming up the shelf that time. And here comes Larry Perkins. He's not letting them get away. Looks like he's just inching a tenth or two out of this lead.
He is, and you'll hear the cheers come from the crowd at the top of the mountain as they come over Skyline, as they hear that the King is in front. Wait for it as he comes down now, this great speed shot over the top and down into the left-hander. You can hear it above the rain, and Perkins closing at this moment on Mark Scaife. Now wait for the reaction. Hey, the boys in front, the 0055 kid could be there shortly.
Well, time's coming down too. Last time through at 2:42, so they've locked about a second off the times. There may just be a bit of a dry line emerging here in the next couple of laps. So a bit of speed coming back.
This is a fabulous race that we have going in the early stages, atrocious conditions. How good are these professionals? You'll be able to see the speed shots on Caltech's chase.
Lead them down through toward Forest Elbow. So it's Brock. Scaife taking it very easy, and Larry Perkins really has moved up in the back of the Winfield car. Look at this, right under the wing as they head down Conrod Straight once again. Still an enormous amount of spray around, but Larry, he's really in the draft here. Let's see what they do. Be a very brave move if he gets him coming into the chase. He pulls out of the draft. We switch their side by side as they come into the chase. What's Larry going to do?
Sideways. Side by side. Now he'll back it off through there.
Just an indication of how much confidence these guys have got in these cars and in their own ability. Breathtaking stuff as they come through there. Probably speeds, even in the wet conditions, speeds in excess of 260 kilometres an hour.
Down beneath the Bridgestone Bridge, Peter Brock leads. Mark Scaife in second. Third is Larry Perkins. Then it's Seaton, Percy, Grice, Jones and Gardner ahead of Longhurst Bond.
Well, Larry's got to move on. He was only 14th fastest in the warm-up this morning in wet conditions. But boy, isn't the Castrol Commodore honking along here. Larry's got the wiper working flat out as he tucks in behind the Winfield Commodore. Shades of 1993. Scaife and Perkins at it again. Hammer and tongs in the opening laps of the 2 E's 1000.
Well, we said earlier that it would be a Sunday afternoon sprint here. Car number 42 with problems.
Car 42 in trouble as they push it up the line. Greg Fay and Dennis Cribben there, but this is where the action is. Once again, Larry Perkins.
Here he comes, up on the inside of Scaife.
That's becoming a popular overtaking position there.
Mark's given way to that, whether he has a problem or not, I'm not quite sure. The Rodney Crick, Neil Shembry, Better Grow Commodore. The driver pushes them to the outside, tells them where to pass.
How hot is the pace? They pulled it back again. Brock's last one across the start-finish line at 2:38.7, so they brought it down about 5 seconds from the opening lap times. So conditions obviously drying out. Oh, look at Larry get sideways there as he comes across the top of the mountain. This is death-defying stuff. Larry really on the ragged edge. Brings it across Reed Park down toward Castrol Curve, and he's closing in on Brock.
Unbelievable this in the atrocious conditions, and Glenn Seaton, who was on pole, has been shuffled back in the pack. He's back there in 4th spot behind Perkins and ahead of Percy, Jones, Gardner, Grice and Longhurst.
This is really inspired driving from Larry. Wasn't the quickest man through the week, certainly wasn't the quickest in the top 10 yesterday. Only 14th fastest this morning, but wow, once that green light goes, Larry is on fire. He's driving this race like he's on a dry track. Closing in on Brock, you can see the car snapping sideways under acceleration. Larry is on the ragged edge, as indeed are these 3 leading cars. They've really split the gap from the rest of the field. 7 seconds back to Glenn Seaton. So it's Commodores in control in the wet. Brock, Perkins and Scaife.
beneath the GIO bridge, and they head along Conrod Straight. And here's Larry starting to make up some ground here on our race leader Peter Brock. This great speed shot on the approach shot to Caltex. Just watch him through here.
And listen to the roar of these Chevy V8s. They're absolutely flat as a biscuit as they come down Conrod, not perturbed by the wet conditions one bit. And by the look of it, Brock's windscreen wiper doesn't seem to be working. We'll keep an eye on that. Larry and Mark have still got theirs going at full speed. Yes, Brock's got his off. Maybe the conditions are getting so good at the front of the pack without anyone to follow. Brock can afford to switch that off. We'll keep an eye on that, though. Brock leads them through once again. Larry Perkins in second and closing the gap. We'll check the split for you this time as they come across the start-finish line. Brought it down again. Brock's down to a 2:37. It looks like Larry's done a 2:35.8, so he's going much quicker than Brock. He's the fastest man on the circuit at the moment. So Larry once again has the hot Bathurst setup. 2:35.8, so he's really closing in on Brock here. It's a visual gap now, and looking ready to pounce.
Aren't these things quick in a straight line here? And then the wet downforce at Mount Panorama coming up on the Scotty Taylor machine. I think that's the Xerox shop car.
And you can see that dry line emerging now.
You watch Scotty. They'll hang across to the inside.
Yep.
Gives Brock the run of the race, and Larry says, hey, there's an opening up here. He's got the headlights on.
Switches those demon headlights on. That's a memory of '93.
Fancy looking in your mirror and seeing the headlights and Larry's goggles.
Whoa!
Stand on the gas, boy.
Brock and Larry, just like the sprint cars on the clay there, sideways, full power, trying to get about 550 to the tarmac. Still very slippery conditions out there. Look at this. These guys are absolutely on the ragged edge. Teammates here, of course, shared 3 wins back in the early 80s. But isn't Larry pumped up this year?
This is fabulous stuff as they come across the top again. Crowd love this. Brock in front, some traffic ahead. Larry with the lights are blazing.
Keep in mind, we're only 5.5 laps down. We've got 161 laps in this race. These guys are attacking it like a 10-lap sprint. And look at Brock waving at the slower car, the Sierra, up ahead of him.
Well, he'd be better off just waiting. Larry's not going to do anything. They'll just wait to get an even go, which they do, and Larry tries to get through, which he does. That leaves Scaife a little inside edge to come down as well, so Mark takes that. Lap cars doing the right thing.
I think Mark Scaife's probably pulled the right rein here too, Mike. He's just hanging back there and let these two scrap amongst themselves. He's certainly got plenty of speed. He's had a few laps to check out his opponent's speed, and he's looking very, very comfortable there in third position.
I would say that Fred's probably had a word to him and said, well, hang on, cool it just a little bit. This is a long race, and you guys are attacking it like a Shell Series sprint. Look at Larry again, moving up on the tail of Brock, and you'll see that Mark Scaife has now made a bit more ground up on them.
Yep. He may have had the signal. It was 2.3 seconds till they came across the start-finish line last time around, but now he's right on the bumper of Larry. It's the Commodore train. Brock, Perkins and Scaife. Fabulous battle. Look how sideways Brock gets there as he's coming out of the corner. He's really driving this thing to its absolute limit in these conditions.
You won't find one of these guys do a zippity-doo-dah down here on the inside. They've got too much respect for each other. They want to be around at about 4:30 this afternoon. Across the line, one more lap completed. Peter Brock going after win number 10 leads Larry Perkins, the defending champion, and Mark Scaife, the Australian touring car champion. Doesn't get much hotter than that. They're coming up to the Technophone 2-litre car. The Oryx machine also out there, and the Hyundai, the Hardman full car, making its competition debut, is one of the first in the pits.
Just imagine the wealth of experience amongst these three guys driving on the limit, but Larry's right up behind Brock now, lights ablaze. Peter's well aware that he's there. He ducks over the inside onto the wet line. Hard under brakes as they come up the shelf. It looks like he's got him.
Yes, he has. Another change of position as last year's champion, Larry Perkins, goes through to take the lead sideways.
We're going to get these guys in sprint cars. They have got some sensational throttle control, and you're seeing it here. The track very greasy, and they're sliding the cars. They're virtually steering them on the rear axle. Look at
how
this.
good's this stuff? Sideways out of Repco, standing on it.
Larry Perkins, tell me he hasn't come alive today. This is the most inspirational drive I think I've seen ever. On the ragged edge, sideways out of every corner. He doesn't seem in the slightest perturbed by the conditions. Look at the way he hangs the tail through here. And Scaife closing in a little bit on Brock.
Is Larry that much quicker than everyone, or have they decided to just back it off a little, give Larry's head? There's the Rodney Crick, Neil Shembry, Better Grow Commodore. Neil Shembry behind the wheel, starting the race.
A couple of rookies here. Their first visit to Mount Panorama. What a time to come, but this is where we're at this stage of the race. Larry Perkins, Peter Brock, Scaife now closing in on this leading duo. as they come down the mountain once again. A fabulous shot from the 7 chopper.
And Larry Perkins really starting to stretch the long legs of the Castrol Commodore now. Amazing that he could open up this gap in these conditions, having been climbed all over the back of Brock's car for 2 laps. Now streaking away.
There's Beverly Brock watching hubby doing battle here today. She has her fingers crossed that Pete can bring it on in. He's smart enough to know the limits of the car, and at this moment Larry Perkins has got the wood on them.
Larry's testing new limits.
But his masterful control in the wet with it, tail out and under perfect control, the exit there to BP cutting last time. Great stuff. And Scaife, don't write him off yet. They may have got through the inside, and he may have elected, well, to let them go.
Enormously talented driver, Larry Perkins. Didn't quite crack it in Formula 1, but he's certainly good enough to get there. A guy with enormous natural ability, and he certainly possesses that today, building on all the experience he's had over the years as he leads the Tooheys 1000.
We saw the Hyundai entry in the pit area just a little while ago. They had some panel damage, apparently nudged a wall, and you won't find that surprising on a day like this. They're not the first, they won't be the last.
Well, the times have certainly stabilised at 2:38 for Larry that time around. They are getting held up behind slower cars, but the times seem to have settled around the high 38s at the moment.
Big gap back there you can see now to Glenn Seaton, followed by Wyn Percy in the number 7 Coke car. When I say big gap, it's about 60 metres.
Yep, the gap 3.4 seconds as they came across the start-finish on that time. So Seaton now closing up.
They're getting close as they make the exit here to Repco as we check them out for you on our Shell race score. Lap number 7. How hot do you like it from Mount Panorama? Larry Perkins leads in the Castrol Commodore. Peter Brock runs in second, followed by Mark Scaife. 4th is Glenn Seaton in the Peter Jackson Falcon. 5th, right behind them, is Alan Jones in the 30 car. Running in 6th is Wyn Percy and Russell Ingall. Then in 7th, it's Longhurst and O'Brien. Bryson Johnson back there to 8th. 9th, Gardner and Crogden, and rounding out the 10th, 015, Jones and Lowndes. Don't go away. Back at Mount Panorama, lap 8 of 161. 22 minutes, 52 seconds into the great race of 94. And Larry Perkins in the Castrol Commodore leads out of tyre power turn. Peter Brock running in second in the Telecom MobileNet Commodore. And back there in third in the Winfield Commodore is Mark Scaife. 4th spot held by Glenn Seaton. 5th by his team partner Alan Jones. 6th is Wyn Percy. 7th Tony Longhurst. 8th is Alan Grice. 9th is Wayne Gardner. And 10th is Bradley Jones.
8 laps down, and the top 4 you just mentioned have all led the race. It's been hectic, and it's going to continue to do so. And you can see the dry line, as Mark Osler said, now beginning to emerge. The showers have backed off and have been so for the last 20 minutes. Still looks very threatening. Still reports of rain in towns west and south of Bathurst. We may get more, knowing Bathurst entirely likely. But for the moment, Wyn Percy doing a great job there in car number 7, the second of the Coke entry cars. In 5th, 6th position at the present time.
Yeah, that's the battle.
Sharing that car with Russell Engel, of course.
Wyn Percy coming out of that turn. Actually, they were a little closer the last lap around. So Alan Jones has been able to get away just a little from the Wyn Percy, Russell Ingall Coca-Cola Commodore.
And team leader Wayne Gardner in the number 4 Coke car reports, well, he doesn't report it, the pit report, they've lost radio contact with him. He's out there circulating, doing it all right at the moment, but they just can't talk to him.
John Bauer carrying our Dunlop race cam, and Dick Johnson's number 17 doing the opening stint for Dick today. Dick was on a really hot lap here yesterday until he had a kiss with the wall coming out of BP cutting, and Bauer's up now to position 11th. Lost a bit of ground at the start, now coming back up through the pack.
He started from 10th, dropped back to 14th, now 11th, and making ground. And what better man to have behind the wheel than John Bauer? Look at him, all concentration, that characteristic hunched position over the wheel.
He's a guy put a tremendous drive in at Sandown, did the bulk of the driving down there and brought it home to a fabulous victory. Shell team choosing to put Bauer in the seat for the start, and a guy you have complete faith in.
They call it the Sandown Enduro, and some people place great store in it as a lead up to this race, but Sandown's like running a half marathon on the flat. This is like running a full marathon uphill.
Well put. There goes car number 17, John Bauer. We've been showing you the Dunlop race cam shots from inside. He goes across Castrol, and right behind him in 015, starting to sprint as well, Bradley Jones and Craig Lowndes. Seconds time down the inside there on one of the VLs, I think it was.
It looks like Gary Wilmington's Falcon there. So they're picking their way through. Jones through safely. Coca-Cola car. Gardner, a little bit of that race tape from the rapid repair this morning, starting to flap in the breeze, but the car's still running.
It's our Qantas race cam riding with Wayne Gardner.
Wipers working overtime. That moisture not actually falling from the sky at the moment, but being kicked up from the track by the cars in front. Gardner in 10th position. Lost radio contact with his pits, so the old pit board will be out waggling over the fence as he comes up the main straight with information relevant to the performance of the car, computer readouts.
Time's dropping.
Indeed. Seaton, Alan Jones down to the 34s now, doing very quick times. You can see the track's pretty well dry. So we're expecting a rash of pit stops fairly shortly.
Well, you saw as we're carrying the race cam with Wayne Gardner, and all of a sudden we lost the camera in the car. Usually what happens is when the engine gives up, and we lose it, and I have a feeling just for that moment he may have had a major problem. He's dropped back.
Yeah, word from the pits is he went off Caltech's chase and he's done some damage to the front spoiler of the car. You can see it sitting at a peculiar angle there. So the Coca-Cola team really in the wars this morning. And the race is only 10 laps old.
Well, these are the conditions that give pit managers and team bosses receding hairlines, because they were all banking the top the top cars on 4 pit stops, 1 brake pad change. This weather has thrown all that into total confusion with the track drying out. If it continues to do so, they will have to come in, change over to slicks. That may add another stop. They may have to go to 5. They've got to get the computers out, recalculate the whole program.
It's tight up here on the top of the mountain as Larry Perkins has Peter Brock now on the tail. Want to go racing down the inside, and does it. Brock back in front. Comes through Castrol and waves to the guy coming up on him. Well, he was coming up on to let him know, and Perkins at this stage has dropped back in the clutches.
Glenn Seaton moves up. He's been sitting back watching.
And Alan Jones, look at this, as in the second Falcon, has also moved up.
And oh, look at them all bunching up now as they come down the side of the mountain. The second of the Winfield cars in there too. Alan Jones and the Coca-Cola Commodore. Look at the gaggle of cars as they pick their way through the slower traffic coming down the side of the hill. Alan Jones now up to position 3.
Oh, look at this through here, Scaife. They all get through on the inside. I think it was Cameron McConville. They put a lap on. These guys have not backed off. They are racing side by side.
Well, Larry Perkins, as we go with Castrol race cam aboard the Castrol Commodore, and Alan Jones, isn't he on a charge?
So the Fords are starting to make their mark here as they head down to the right-hand kink here at the chase. Alan Jones has been sitting off the leaders. Perkins now gives way on the inside to Mark Scaife, comes up, and we have a report that he will be in for tyres very, very shortly.
Switches across to the outside of the track. Let's see if Perkins heads pit side. He's slowing down. Is he going in? Looks like Larry's heading for the pits. The first of the leaders on the way into the pits. It's all happening here at Mount Panorama as the track conditions begin to change. Alan Jones on the charge through the field now. The first guy to slip into the 234s.
Oh, how close was that?
Incredible stuff.
Up on the inside came Win Percy and the Coke Commodore. Up on the inside of Glenn Seaton it was. Larry is the first one in the pits as we take our GIO pit report. Not going to raise the hood, they just want to change tyres. Those Dunlops are coming off and a fresh set.
Full wets on there. What are they putting on? Looks like full.
Larry, let's go to Andy.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Larry Perkins been in the pits now just 20 seconds. He lights them up as we're getting used to. Larry said the tyres were going off. It's getting far too dry out there. He seems to be the only one thinking that. The Castrol team put on an intermediate, a grouped intermediate. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think some of the other teams will follow suit.
Yeah, those who have been setting the pace in the wet are now starting to feel the effects on those full wets. Larry Perkins rejoins in position number 12 as Glenn Seaton up on the tail of Mark Scaife. On the outside of him goes the Coke Commodore. They're all looking for racing room and they're tight as they come over Tooheys Bridge.
Oh, how close is it here? Falcon Sandwich.
You want to run on the dry line, and here comes Win Percy down on the inside of Glenn Seaton. Over the top, heading down to Skyline yet again.
Fascinating battle here for 4th, 5th and 6th.
And Wayne Gardner's cars running superbly here. The second one is with Win Percy, Russell Ingle doing a great job, and I must pay a compliment to the lap car so far. I think the guys have done a fabulous job staying out of the way of these boys, and it's a tough race for them to run.
Look at Tony Longhurst coming back into the picture now in 6th position. They're all bunching up. Tremendous dice here for 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th as they come down the mountain once again. Wipers still going. Conditions in no way confident that they're going to clear up, but the dry line's still out there. Larry's come in for intermediates now, which gives you some indication of which way the track conditions are going.
Quite amazing.
0055 60630 for Australian viewers. Tell you what, I'll be ducking off here shortly and making a readjustment. Here comes Mark Scaife. Fabulous speed shot down into the chase, and right behind him is Glenn Seaton, who carries our STP race cam. He has the inside run. You just got to be careful here. They'll have racing room because they respect each other, Mark Scaife and Glenn Seaton. Peter Brock leads the great race. 9 laps completed. Alan Jones runs in 2nd. Mark Scaife is 3rd, and he is the man monstering him with our beat into the left-hander, and that is Glenn Seaton. He takes that spot away from him.
Scaife comes back on the attack, though. Great shots from our race cam boys there as you ride with Glenn Seaton as he tries to fend off Mark Scaife. But Win Percy showing a new head of steam. Gets right up onto the back of the Winfield Commodore. Tony Longhurst coming into the battle too. And at the moment, Longhurst and Alan Jones are the fastest guys on the track, the only ones in the 34s at this stage.
Look at this. Here's Peter Brock, and the man coming after him is Alan Jones, and he tries to thread the needle as they go past a lap car. Brock has the line to the next turn. It's the right-hander at Repco. Jones has the headlights ablaze. The Ford's running strongly, and he wants to lead it as he comes up the inside. Brock skates wide. Jones comes up. The 2 cars almost touch that time. Brock has the line to the next turn on the inside, but Jones stays wide. Watch this as they come on opposite lock out of here, and it's Brock with Jones side by side again.
Ford versus Holden. Alan Jones is more than into the quarter panel of Brock's car there. Brock's got the left-hand indicator on as Alan Jones tucks right under the wing of 05 as they come across the mountain for this scintillating run through these conditions. This is really...
And all those experts have told us that these were dinosaurs from the past. Go eat your words, boys. These guys are putting on a fabulous show as Jones goes to the inside but can't make it.
You can't believe this. This is the battle for the lead of the 1994 Tooheys 1000. It's not a sprint race. Well, it is effectively 161 laps. We can expect this sort of action
Here's
for
Neil
6.5 hours.
Good driving from Neil Chambry.
Rookie gets out of the way. Nice driving by him as he lets this great battle continue. Alan Jones in the Ford, Peter Brock in the Holden. Holden versus Ford, and they're right on it as they come down toward Forest Elbow once again. All this aggression we've seen in Jones over the years coming out here, and he's picked the right day of the year to do it.
Now they'll have a chance here to gauge the relative speed difference of these 2 cars as they hit Conrod Straight. Brocky, some lap cars, moves to the outside, going to get them before the chase. Jones follows, sitting in the draft. About 285 clicks at the moment over the top beneath the Tooheys Bridge. Here they come down the hill. Jones sweeps to the inside but can't do it. They lose the BMW and they're down at a Caltex chase again, and here comes Jones under Brock and gets him as well. So we now have a new race leader. It's Alan Jones in car number 30.
You can see Jones wearing the battle scars from that 1st or 2nd lap altercation. He's really been in the wars.
Occupational hazard, son.
So, interesting thing too here, maybe a coincidence, but the leading 3 cars now are on Bridgestone tyres. So as the track conditions are changing, you can see you've got to be on the right tyre at the right time. Jones gets sideways up on the ripple strips. Brock takes advantage with a faster run out of the corner. They're side by side as they come across the start-finish line once again.
Jones. I can't remember one like this, Gary.
I have never seen a battle like this, Wilco.
Never. Not this fast, not this furious, not this close. 5 different leaders in the race so far.
Beverly Brock there, Peter's wife, watching in nervous anticipation of what's ahead.
Jones, the 4th different race leader as we work lap number 10 or 11 of the event.
4 different leaders in the first 13 laps. This is phenomenal motorsport, whichever way you look at it.
Into the right-hander at Repco. Jones.
Glenn Seaton still sitting back 3.5 seconds behind this battle, and he's probably pretty glad to be back there, Wilco, staying out of this for the moment.
Yeah, well, I said 5 leaders, but I was counting Glenn winning the start, but he soon got gobbled up, of course, by Scaife. But if you count Seaton, that makes 5, yeah.
Here they come out of BP, the cutting. Alan Jones, wouldn't he love to win this as we check them out on the Shell race score? AJ's day will it be at Mount Panorama. He leads it. Peter Brock runs in 2nd spot. Glenn Seaton is coming up. He's in 3rd. Longhurst is 4th. Mark Scaife runs 5th in the Winfield Racing Commodore. 6th. the Percy Ingle Coke Commodore. Behind them, it's Brad Jones and Craig Lowndes and the Telecom MobileNet Commodore. 8th is Alan Grayson, Junior Johnson. 9th is 17. That's John Bow at the wheel, and rounding out the 10, Gardner and Crompton. Don't go away. And welcome back to Mount Panorama. The battle now rages for second spot. Lap 14 of 161 with 38 minutes, 21 seconds into the event. And here is the battle for a second as Peter Brock tries to fend off a fast-closing Glenn Seaton.
Alan Jones, Glenn Seaton's teammate, currently the fastest man on the circuit. The first to dip now into the 2-minute 32 time bracket. So Jones really is setting the pace today.
During that break, Mark Scaife came into the pits, changed from full wedge to intermediates, rejoined the race in 11th position. Car 17, John Bow at the wheel, also came in and changed to intermediates. There's Scaife now on with the full wedge, on go the intermediates.
Rejoined in 7th. 17th back to 17th spot. This is where the race is at the moment, with Alan Jones disappearing. They're coming up on the 54 car as they exit that turn.
Whoa, there's one getting out of shape.
Oh,
dear me. Well, that was the
Ed Lamont.
The Crick, I think.
Yeah, Ed Lamont, Graham Gulson.
Yeah.
To the bottom of the hill again, and threading the needle is a pretty tough job, particularly amongst some of the slower cars. They're doing their best.
That really does show the lottery element of this race. You can be the fastest man out there and get caught up in someone else's accident. Boy, sure their hearts would have missed a beat.
Let's have a look at a replay of this. They moved to the outside. He was sideways. There was nothing he could do, and he caught it back again. I tell you what, if it was Lamont, he didn't do a bad job.
Oh, waltzing Matilda stuff that.
Just to get it back together.
Up Holden Hill, Brocky hanging on to second, and Glenn Seaton with the track now drying. That's why they've all headed in for intermediates. If you can stay up there long enough, there's the Grice Junior Johnson car. It's also in for a new set of tyres. And I guess if the rain stays away, here is the lottery. Do you go out and run on slicks? Wait a few more laps.
Well, look at the lap times, Brock. What's he doing? 37th. And
Gardner in the pits as well for a change of tyre.
That seems to be going well, Andy.
Yeah, it seems to be going well. Wayne was just explaining to his team manager, Alan Heafy, of exactly how slippery it was out there. He said, I just couldn't keep going the way it was. It was scary and it was dangerous. A 25-second pit stop for the Coca-Cola number 4.
Thanks, AJ. Up on top of the hill again, Peter Brock. That dry line starting to develop. But right behind the mountain, there's another batch of clouds and rain rolling in. So those who have gone now to the intermediates might be back in if this thing breaks. They'll be back on full wets again. 18, John Bowers rejoined the race in 14th spot.
So Alan Jones, the only guy now to dip into the 232s. 234 is the best for the rest of them. Some running in the 237s. I'm surprised that Seaton hasn't been able to overtake Brock at this.
And Jones is still on full wet.
That's right.
That might run back to help him, judging by the low cloud cover and the rain about to sweep in here again.
It'll be raining here within 2 or 3 minutes.
Yep. Beneath the GIO bridge down Conrod Straight. There's Glenn Seaton, the Peter Jackson Falcon, chasing Peter Brock, the 05 Telecom MobileNet Commodore.
I'll be interested to know, Jones may have taken a gamble at the start and gone out on intermediates, which is why he's holding this big advantage at this stage. As we take STP race cam, you're in the car currently running third outright as he sits behind Peter Brock as they head back toward pit straight once again. Conditions drying out at this stage, but as Mike said, ominous weather coming in from the west as they come under brakes. Go.
Here comes Glenn on the inside of Peter Brock. Moment of truth. Brock gives way. Now as they exit that turn and work their way up the straight, Glenn Seaton, car number 1, takes the second spot away. And now, for the first time that I can ever recall, we have Glenn Seaton's team with Alan Jones and Glenn himself running 1-2 for the Peter Jackson squad here at Mount Panorama.
And the answer to your question is that Alan Jones did go out on full wets and is still on them.
Well, that's great driving from AJ. And these dry conditions continue. Those tyres will be getting pretty spongy fairly shortly, if not at this stage, 16 laps into the race.
He's the only bloke here praying for more rain, I guess.
So Glenn Seaton picking his way through the slower traffic, comes up behind one of the 2-litre BMWs.
I don't think I've ever seen Doug Mulray speechless before, but he has been for the last 46, 47 minutes.
Yes. I organised a barbecue for this evening and it rained and broke the drought. I think I might rent myself out around the country. I came down here, went to have a chat about this most exciting of Tooheys 1000s. and the microphone was malfunctioning. Thank heavens the TAFE boys came over and rebuilt it.
Have you ever seen an opening 10 laps like that, Doug? So we take the split 9.93 between Alan Jones and his teammate Glenn Seaton at the moment. So the two blue and yellow Fords really dominating the 2 East 1000 at the moment.
No, the answer to your question is no. I've never seen a race like this. This is one of the most exciting motor races of any type I've ever witnessed, and I just hope and pray it continues. I think with that impending rain, it's going to get wobbly and exciting once again. The tyre war, absolutely astonishing. I cannot believe that these two Fords, these Peter Jackson Fords, are going so fast if they're on full wet. Surely these tyres would be going off by now, given that we have a very dry line all the way around the circuit.
Yeah, well, his fastest lap for Jonesy was a 2:32.6. The last time around he did a 2:32.9, so he's very consistent. And he's certainly on a dry track at this stage.
Well, he's got 9-second break over...
he's got 10.58
over Brock. Yeah, OK. But Brock is still on full wets.
Yeah. These guys must be tearing themselves apart, wondering about coming in, getting the intermediates. They got rain, what, a minute, 2 minutes away.
Yeah,
they'd be wondering whether they need the intermediates to compete or the wets to have a chance if we get another downfall. This is exciting stuff, tactically and in reality. This battle for the first 3 places has just been monumentally exciting.
Andrew Reid, Melinda Price, the only girl in the race. Melinda just being bypassed there by Alan Jones, the race leader, as they came out of the turn there onto the main straight.
And there they are, buffing the tyres down, ready for preparation. Bridgestone tyre technicians hard at work, preparing the rubber. And I would assume these are destined either for the Holden Racing Team cars or the Peter Jackson Falcons. And just to look behind the scenes at the intense work that goes behind keeping these cars at the front of the field.
Well, the word was that the Yokohamas were the best tyre for totally wet conditions, and that proved to be true at the start. But it would seem that people shot with Bridgestones are doing better in these average conditions, these drying conditions.
A little BMW moves over, makes way for Alan Jones as they head up through the GIO corner there into the BP cutting. Oh, car stopped, the old Phil Ward Mercedes there.
Looks like it. In trouble.
It could
just coming out of the cutting.
Mercedes don't stop, do they?
Peter McKay and Peter McKay and Jamie Miller driving that Mercedes 190. Peter McKay, of course, motoring writer of renown, been coming here for a long time, on and off, trying his hand behind the wheel. Not with that much luck by the look of that.
Well, let's look at the top 20 as they stand at this stage. On lap 17, Jones and Parsons in control. Seaton and Radisich teammate in second place, just 10 seconds behind. Brock Maziera still in third. And look at that, Tony Longhurst and Charlie O'Brien making a great charge through to fourth. In fifth, Percy and Ingle in the Coca-Cola Commodore. Out of 6, 0-1-5. Jones and Lowndes still hanging in there in the top 10 from 7, car 11. Perkins and Hansford who slipped back a little. From 8, car 2, that's a surprise. Scape and Richards back in 8th. In 9th, car 17, the Johnson Val Shell car with Val in charge at this stage. And in the 10, car 24, Crick and Scott. Top 11, we'll keep going. Car 3, Reid and Ashby in the Lansvale Commodore. And out of 12, 27, Finnegan and Williams. In 13, car 28 is Waldock and Preston in the Falcon. In 14th, car 18, Bryson Johnson's in the Shell FAI car. And in 15, car 9, the Synovus Falcon. 16, car 4, Gardner and Crompton still hanging in there. In 17, car 6, Bond and Olofsson. In position 18, car 12, Jones and Dunstan. In 19, car 46, Morris and Hager. And rounding out the 20, car 48, Brooklyn and Blanchard.
We're back at Mount Panorama, Bathurst. The 1994 2 1000 lap, 19 of 161. And we're 50 minutes and 13 seconds into the race. And Tony Longhurst, once again, is proving that this circuit is one of his favourites because he went out there on full weather tyres, full wets, and he's been able to just nip Peter Brock there in the break. That has moved him to third. Positional changes haven't been too many apart from that. Jones the leader, Seaton in second, but those who went out on full wets, it's going to play into their hands now because it is bucketing down here at Mount Panorama.
That advantage that Alan Jones and Glenn Seaton have built up, I imagine, will rapidly fall. This great charge from Tony Longhurst, currently third outright.
Well, for all those people enjoying barbecues from every Harry and Jaime around Australia today, tell you what, they might be enjoying sunshine. It's a little bit different here at Mount Panorama. Oh, lap cars race.
That's second position.
Place, and that is Glenn Seaton.
Look how quickly. Oh, see, Glenn Seaton had a big wobble there, and he's actually letting Longhurst through. There is nothing he can do about it. It's an absolute skating rink out there at the moment.
I would think so, because Brock's been out there on a set of full wets. They're coming into some traffic here. That's the Xerox shop Commodore, and Longhurst is right behind him. So Alan Jones, the leader, still. Tony Longhurst moves to second, and coming down the outside, mobile
Peter Brock.
Peter Brock. So they have put Seaton back to fourth spot.
And look how slowly he's
got a problem with a tyre, has he not?
That car looks like it's sitting down on the inside. Oh, he has. He's got a flat right front tyre. Drama here for Mark Scaife in the Winfield Commodore, a puncture. And he's just got to try and bring this thing all the way around this 6.2 kilometre track.
Car slip sliding as it went by him.
Oh, and look at the weather. Unbelievable. This is conditions exactly like 92 when you get this deluge. It just hits the place and people go skating off everywhere. I wonder if Mark has actually clouded something and damaged the rim. We'll find out when he gets into pit lane.
May have.
So Scaife just slipping down very quickly out of the top 10. Kevin Waldock throws his hands up in disgust. He's hit the concrete wall as well. All coming in the Palmer Peters car.
Oh, we've had a prank here. That looks like
Kevin Waldock.
Kevin Waldock
just launched into the concrete wall at Repco Bend. Gee.
That's the Komatsu entry. Just shakes his hands. There's nothing I can do about it.
That's a pretty treacherous part of the track too. He may well have the pace car out here very shortly.
And here comes Glenn Seaton. He's trying to beat the pace car if they're thinking about it. Perkins has been the big mover. You recall that Larry went in for a pit stop, came back out. He's been doing 2:33s and now up to position number 7 and the fastest lap of the race.
Oh, we got one off here. One of the Shell cars, car 18. That's the Grice Junior Johnson car. I assume Grice is still at the wheel.
Yes,
and where's that? That's just coming through McPhillamy Park. So he's come skating off into the sand trap. There will have to be a pace car out here soon. This car's littering the track.
Let's go down to AJ in the pits.
Cross down to me, please, Noel.
Yeah, there you go. So how orderly...
Yes, I'm just down at the Glenn Seaton pits. Glenn Seaton is screaming and shouting. He's telling, get a pace car out there. This is disgraceful. He said it's far too dangerous out there. There is traffic everywhere. It's slippery. There are cars almost colliding in pit lane. Seaton said he wants a pace car out there.
Don't blame him. And
that's
Andrew Reid
51.
That's Melinda Price. Co-driving with Andrew Reid and Gary Jones in the Toyota Seeker.
I don't think Melinda's going to get a drive today.
Doesn't look that way. And just as we talk, for you folks at home, the sun breaks through at Mount Panorama.
And you can see that on the picture. There's the sun. Looks like a rain shower. I cannot believe.
Let's have a look at...
there's one clip there just as we cut to the replay. A car's come through and clipped this Corolla. Well, this is the drama we saw in the spray there, the car sliding up. Pace car is out, folks. Glenn Seaton's prayers have been answered.
You can't see a thing. Look.
Yeah.
No.
And there's the Peugeot that clipped the front of that Corolla. Can't quite see the number on it from here, but just an example of how slippery it is out there.
Got to be 89 or 57.
You've got a drying line, just about the whole field comes in and switches to a dry tyre. There's the pace car.
So the Mazda MX-6 pace car comes out to bring the field in behind it. Should actually come out in front of our race leader, Alan Jones, car number 30.
If they can find him.
Yep. Let's have a look at what actually happened when we went to our replay to show you how the Seeker went off. There it was, one of the Co-Commodores going through.
And crunch!
Just caught the side of it with the Peugeot. And it, of course, headed off the racetrack over into the wall, which just straightened it out.
Another tap on the other side. So there's the pace car, and they'll be looking for the leader, Alan Jones.
I can't recall a race with so much drama here so early in the event as we pick up in the pits.
Wayne Gardner.
Orderly pit stops here now with the pace car out.
And Scaife hasn't actually made his pit.
No.
That's just on the entrance to the pits, and they are the second pit stop in line, so he's not far from his pit division. I'm not sure how the rules are structured as far as pushing the car into pit lane. Let's see what happens here. He's on the radio to Fred Gibson. Help!
Yeah, that's atrocious luck there.
He's fired it up. He's going to run on the rim. He's got to get there.
Well, he's been doing that, but
I'm surprised he stopped there.
I think the car cut out on him. He's just fired it up again.
Okay, let's go down to Richie Hay, who's on the scene there. Richard?
Well, real drama down here, Mike. The news from the pit is that Mark Scaife actually tapped the wall, and that's what's caused the damage. It's not just a puncture. The car now limping, making its way out to the pits. But while all that was going on, the Anders Olofsson car has come in. So there's less room than ever.
And they've got to service 2 cars.
Yep, a lot of damage to the front wheel rim here.
Richard, any idea why Scaife just stopped under the bridge there?
Because the other car was there blocking the pit, I guess.
It could well have been, yeah. I think they might have asked him to wait so they could get the other car in and then out and serviced. The other thing is, don't forget, that Scaife was on intermediates and things were just starting to come right for him. The lap times are coming down and getting to be quicker than those guys on wets when the rains came down again.
Impossible conditions to pick.
And you won't believe this, but the sun's out down here and the rain stopped again.
Yeah.
Thank you, Richard, for that. It's going to be a wet day in the pits for you and Andy.
One of those days.
Well, here's the pace car, the Mazda MX-6 leading the field down through Castrol.
So, waiting for our race leader, and there's the damage to the front. It looks like it's just done a bit of a fracture on the glasswork on the front spoiler there. There may be some damage underneath the car. We'll find out as the day wears on. There's the damaged rim. And what do you do with tyres? It's raining, the track is wet, but the sun's out. You'd have to be a genius if you're going to pick this one.
We're sitting over here a little distance from the cars, and you couldn't pick whether it was going to pour rain here in 5 minutes. The sun, as we've mentioned, is out at the moment.
Well, Scaife will want to get out before the pace car comes through. You can hear he's fired it up. And easing out of the pits. So how can you pick drama after drama? One of the race favourites. Hang on.
No, he didn't.
He hasn't driven out of the pits yet. But there's problems down there in the Winfield pit at the moment as the pace car brings him down Conrod Straight. And Mark Scaife's car is still in pit lane. They're taking off a rear tyre.
And replacing that.
Well,
so whether or not that was a late call or not, I'm not sure.
Fred or Mark may have gone for a late change of mind on tyre selection here. Very difficult to pick. This is a tough game. So Scaife gets back out, pace car on its way down Conrad Straight. He should be okay to go around and jump onto the back of this line. There is the pace car now.
I think Tony Longhurst, as we understand, will be the next one in pit lane. Mark Scaife has managed to make it back on the track, hasn't been held in the pit lane. They do hold them as the pace car comes past pit straight. That's where you go down a lap, so he hasn't gone down a lap. But the race plans of the Winfield team at the moment will be a little up in the air.
You'll have to tap onto the back of this line.
But it is early days.
It certainly is. What are we, 21 laps into the 2 1000. Treacherous conditions, as you've seen. Some of the most exciting dicing for the lead I think I've ever seen at Mount Panorama.
I wonder if they got Kieran Perkins back behind the wheel of the pace car. Kieran was out there this morning. Well, that's the position here at Mount Panorama. Let's recap the top 10 for you. No doubt about who's leading this. AJ, Alan Jones in the Peter Jackson Falcon. Running in second, Tony Longhurst. About to pit. Third is Peter Brock. Fourth spot is held down by Brad Jones. Marvellous effort that. Then it's Wyn Percy and the Coca-Cola Commodore running in fifth. Sixth spot is Glenn Seaton in the Peter Jackson Falcon. Seventh, and running like a house on fire, is Larry Perkins in the Castrol Commodore. Eighth spot, what a great effort here, Greg Crick in the Pinnacle Motorsport Commodore. Ninth, the Reed and Ashby Lansvale Smash Repairs Commodore. Go, boys. And then Finnegan and Williams round out the 10. Don't go away. Sorry about that. I was trying to dial up myself. And don't forget, you can, for all our viewers in Australia, not necessarily in New Zealand today, you can dial through until half an hour before race finish. So you can keep going all day long. And as we've seen at the moment, anything's possible. The pace car, the Mazda MX-6, will actually wave by, I think, the first 11 cars and then sit in front of Alan Jones. Larry Perkins also just pitted again under the pace car. So Larry was making tremendous progress. Actually, it turned the fastest lap in the wet in the last 5 laps before the yellow came out. So we have Jones, the leader, Brock still running in second, and Bradley Jones, the second of the Telecom Mobile Net Commodores, up there in the thick of it as well. Win Percy is running strongly. Glenn Seaton, we've already seen, has pitted and gone back out.
So there is our race leader, Peter Brock, because Alan Jones apparently ducked into the pits under the pace car. So they really have picked up the leader here.
Well, they've picked up the leader.
There's still a privateer there as the trail comes across the mountain once again. Come down through the dipper. Mix of 2-litre cars and V8s bunching up behind the pace car, and this really presents a fascinating challenge for the team managers and the strategists in the team, because all their original fuel stops and brake pad wear calculations go out the window under these conditions. And plus there's the total lottery situation of what tyre to pick. Word from the weather station is that orange, which is the prevailing weather for Bathurst today, is sunny patches but very dark with more cloud on the way. And we thank the Orange Police who are keeping us updated on weather reports on a regular basis. Thanks,
Let's
guys.
go down to the pits and Richard Hay.
Well, thank you, Mike. Now with me is Win Percy. Win, awful conditions.
I think you have to be in a car to ever understand what it's like. When you put your hand up to try and clear the inside of the screen, and literally you cannot see beyond the screen, down Conrod Flat, it's unbelievable.
You said you were going to retire after last year's race, and you've come back for this?
I should have kept to it, shouldn't I? It's unreal. I think it's a credit to the drivers, though, to get round up into the cutting on the first lap without any major incidents. Again, it was unbelievably slippery, but quite an experience.
Now, you've done a great job out there. The car's up to, what, 4th place, I think?
I think so. To be honest with you, I didn't even look at pit boards. Your eyes are out on stalks. They're looking as far ahead as they can, which isn't very far. But it's quite a learning curve for the youngsters, I tell you.
On the subject of that, what did you say to Russell Ingall when he went out in the car?
I'll go and enjoy it.
Thanks, Win.
Thank you, Richard Hay. Peter Brock shown as the leader of the event in car number 05 after the round of pit stops. They still sit in behind the Mazda MX-6 pace car. As Dougie Mulray said, if Kieran Perkins was driving this one, he'd be used to the wet here today. Here they come across the line.
So Holden Racing Team 1-2 at this stage. But as we've seen in the opening 24 circuits of this track, anything can happen, and we've got a very long way to go. More rain on pit straight now as we speak, and this looks like the weather. Look at those ominous clouds there just hanging over Mount Panorama. It looks like they're going to be here for the day.
I think so. This is just going to go on.
Well, have a look at the radar. That'll give you an indication of the area here. Bathurst orange doesn't look good for the rest of the race.
And the dark blue is, I believe, the really intense falls of rain. And you can see they're well on their way over the Bathurst area, and more coming through Yass, Orange, all the western areas. So the farmers will be happy, but I'm not sure the racing drivers would share their enthusiasm at the stage.
Well, Paul Radicic is, of course, the World 2-litre champ after winning the big race last year. He's yet to climb into Glenn Seaton's Peter Jackson Falcon, and he's in the pits with Andy.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Though it mightn't be too long before Paul Radicic jumps in with in the Glenn Seaton car. You're all ready to go. You're just not exactly sure when.
Well, we come in and changed tyres. The wets were giving him some grief, so we changed them, and he wanted me to get him, but I wasn't quite ready, so I'm ready for him at any time.
There's a big difference between a Ford Mondeo that you drive over in England and a Ford Falcon that you're going to be driving here, but the conditions are pretty similar.
You're not wrong. Probably not enough snow coming down at the moment, but mate, they've got a lot of horsepower to pedal around in the wet, and I haven't done a lot of laps, but I'll settle in pretty quick.
We'll let you take a few deep breaths and get ready. Hope you go all right.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, AJ. Well, the Dorian race system, which has been really a boon to touring car racing throughout Australia, has been developed. All the cars, of course, carrying transmitters, electronic lap scoring. There's the 51 car that was the one that Melinda Price was to drive later, the Seeker. It's gone back in behind the pit wall. So we have lights, I believe, out on the pace car. We should get back to a start next time around. And after the round of pit stops, in behind the Mazda MX-6, Peter Brock and Thomas Mazera in the 05 car leave this race. Their team car, the 015 car, driven by Bradley Jones and the sensational young Craig Lowndes, run in second. Then it's Glenn Seaton and Paul Radicic in third. And talk about privateers, the Lansvale Smash Repairs Commodore, Steve Reed and Trevor Ashby are in 4th spot. And in 5th spot, 25, Tony Longhurst, Charlie O'Brien. Then in 6th, another great privateer, Terry Finnegan and Williams and the Bobby McGee's Commodore VP. Then it's Crick and Scott in the Pinnacle Motorsport Commodore. Then Jones and Parsons in the 30, Peter Jackson Falcon. Then it's Perkins and Hansford in the Castrol Commodore and Percy and Ingle in the Coke. That gives you an idea of the top 10 and the gaps between them. Back here at Mount Panorama, Bathurst. Lap 25 of 161 with the race time of 1 hour 14 and 3 seconds. The lights are off on the pace car, and we'll have a restart affected this time around. Peter Brock continues to lead in the Telecom Mobile Net Commodore, and his team car, the Brad Jones machine, 015, runs in 2nd. Glenn Seaton is 3rd. Steve Reed in the Lansvale Smash Repairs Commodore is in 4th. Tony Longhurst in 5th. Greg Crick in the Pinnacle Motorsports car runs in 6th. Followed by Alan Jones. Then it's Larry Perkins running back there in 8th. 9th is Win Percy, and 10th is Dick Johnson and John Bower. Now keep in mind, they will probably change because of the round of pit stops. When the race goes green down here, you're going to have a mad helter-skelter as the guys back there in 8th and 9th try and get past some of the privateers. Brocky will have the run of the race though. In 05, the only car he's got to worry about is the pace car, and when it pulls to the right, he'll be long gone. Yeah, good position to be in these wet conditions. A lot of spray around for the guys following him. So it's nice to get on a nice clear track and put in some big ones, get a bit of a lead for yourself.
A couple of unheralded people sitting in the top 10 at the moment. Steve Reed and Trevor Ashby. Of course, they're well known as privateer punters in the touring car scene for a long time, but Gary Scott and partner in the Pinnacle Motorsport entry. The car's only had one start before at Sandown. They did creditably well there. They've had a trouble-free run in qualifying up here, and just amazing performance to be running 6th at the moment. Done well. Here they come down to the end of Conrod Straight. The approach to Caltech's Chase. Wipers going. Had the sun out for a while. And I just wonder whether we're going to get any of today's race that will be, in fact, on a dry racetrack. Now, the pace car will head to the pits. The pace will quicken as they come beneath the Bridgestone Bridge. And the race fans who are drenched here along Pitt Straight are ready for the restart as Brocky gasses up, comes across the line, and it's back on again. Brock across the line clear of the Brad Jones Craig Lowndes car. Some of the slower ones getting in the way of the faster cars coming through. As you said, Mike, the privateers. The faster guys are going to have to thread the needle on this opening lap as they pick their way through them. There's another one of them getting sideways as they come out. You can see the conditions very, very tricky once again. That was Brett Yulden and Malcolm Steniken in the Commodore. And we have the 2 car in with Mark Scaife back in the pits again. We'll get an update from the pits as soon as the boys are ready. Well, who would have picked this? There's dramas there working away in the back of the car, all sorts of fuel and oil systems back there. What are they doing? And the vent bottle for the refueling system not currently plugged in. Well, so we'll see. Refueling because they were right to go before. There's Freddie Gibson walking round to the back, and they're working on the got the hood up, looking over the engine at the moment. Well, there's not a lot of frantic activity around the car. Bonnet up, boot up. We'll get an update on that from either Richard or Andy with Fred Gibson after they service the car. In the meantime, we go to the top of the mountain to his turn. And the number 6 Winfield Commodore that's been driven by the Swedish star Anders Olofsson and another Australian veteran in Colin Bond, who actually retired from racing but came back because of his experience here at Mount Panorama to drive for Gibson Motorsport this weekend. And haven't they taken advantage of that pace car time, Mike? They were 16th. He's pushed his way up to challenging for 3rd. His teammate Mark Scaife now getting back into the race, and there's drama upon drama for the Winfield team here today. 2 rejoins in position 25, so Scaife slipping further and further down the field, but he does have the lottery effect of that pace car up his sleeve should it happen. Here's Brad Jones under fire from car 6 as they come down Forest Elbow and head down, and he looks down the inside. More than a look, he takes him. Anders Olofsson, very smooth manoeuvre there. Jones gives him racing room. Green flag is out, so they can go flat throttle now. Conrad once again, and Olofsson opens it up, so Olofsson squeezed through to 2nd position now.
He's a lap down, don't forget.
True,
A lap down early.
He's dropped the lap on the pace car, I apologise. So he pushes his way through. That would leave Brad Jones still in second position.
Now, if he can catch up another lap and do it again, then he'll be on the same.
Yeah.
At the moment, though, Peter Brock, the leader over Brad Jones. Seaton back in third, and Seaton's got a lot of traffic to contend with before he can get onto the tail of the 015 car. Then in arrears, it's Steve Reed, Tony Longhurst, Greg Crick, Alan Jones and Larry Perkins. A dry line starting to develop there on the outside on the approach to the left-hander. But other parts of the circuit are still extremely wet, so... and the problem with Mark Scaife's car, we hear from our pit boys, no fuel pressure, which is...
it's quite incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
You think how bulletproof these Winfield cars are during the year. They're just so reliable and so quick, and you get up here and all of a sudden some sort of malady like that emerges. So, up Mountain Straight once again, following car 6, the Bond Olofsson car. And we'll just have a look at you, follow the field through here. Glenn Seaton there in car 1. So head up the shelf. And interesting equation. The rain is so heavy, maybe the rain getting in and affecting the electrics of car 2. We shall find out as the day wears on.
Now it's starting to close up as Glenn Seaton, the Peter Jackson Falcon, starting to gain on our second place driver Brad Jones in the 015. There goes Jones. Here comes Seaton. He's on the charge back after him. And he'll probably bring Longhurst and Crick and Alan Jones up onto the tail as well. I can see Longhurst in the background, so it's starting to close up again.
Longhurst has got the headlights on.
Rocky's bolted, but second is far from being resolved. There's Seaton going through.
Imagine trying to pick these track conditions, Mike.
Well, very difficult too.
Yeah.
It is a lottery, particularly when the weather plays such a major part, even in a 1,000k race. I think they all have plenty of time, but you know, this may well go wet all day.
Take Qantas race cam, and you're riding with Glenn Seaton as he comes under fire from Tony Longhurst. This is the battle for third and fourth as they come onto Conrod Straight with a run through the spray once again. Glenn Seaton, he's just hanging in there. The fastest man here during the week, really dominated the top 10 yesterday, and he's hanging in the top 3 now. But Tony Longhurst, the star performer here, really a new team, ran this car in its first enduro in the Sandown 500 4 weeks ago, and very strong here at Bathurst. He pulls out of the draft and he shoots through on the inside of Seaton.
Great
as
shot
they come
there.
down to the kink. Look at that.
He is a mover today. Well, Freddie Gibson's been having some problems today. They like to run out front and dominate the pace. Let's see what the problems are with the number 2 car. Let's go down to Richie Hay.
Well, thank you, Mike. Fred, things really haven't been going that well for you this afternoon. You've started as, or this morning, you started as one of the favourites. What's gone wrong?
Oh, I think, well, you know, the weather condition had changed. And one of those sorts of days where you don't know what's going to happen. We've got to keep soldiering on all day. Hope the finisher might get up with a good result. Mark was out on the wrong tyres at the wrong time. He clipped the wall at the cutting and bent a steering arm, but it's not too bad. And just let a low oil pressure warning light come on then. So we had to look at that and seems okay now. So we'll keep soldiering on, see how the day goes.
When he put those intermediate tyres on, things looked to be just going right when the rain came down again.
Well, we were waiting and waiting and waiting and thinking, well, it's going to rain again in a minute, but Mark said he had no grip at all with the tyres on there. So we had to make the decision. It was just a bit too early for the weather the way it was. That's the way it goes. That's the sort of race it is. Got to keep charging on all day and hope they have the finisher in a place.
And there's still another car out there as well from the team.
Sorry, Richard?
Still another car out there from the team as well.
Yeah, Anders is going well. He's up in sort of 5th or 6th spot or something, so he'll go well, and we'll put Bond in shortly. So that, you know, there's a long way to go yet. It's only early in the day yet, so we're hoping to get some sort of result.
That's great. Thanks, Fred.
Thanks, Richard.
You've got a smile on his face, Freddie Gibson. Number 2, Mark Scaife, is in 23rd position, and number 6, Anders Olofsson, in 5th.